What's going on, guys? We're Mindy and Joe. Together we travel the country in our van with our dog Bolt. And today we're going to talk about 8 ways to beat the heat while living in a van.
What's going on, everybody? This is Joe. So today we're going to talk about how Mindy and I beat the heat while traveling full-time in a van. As you know, right now it's midsummer and it is absolutely hot right now. We're getting hit by this crazy heat wave. Currently we're in Rosebud, Montana, which is just a little fun campground that's on iOverlander, so it's a free campsite, which is pretty nice. One of the things we like to do when it's this hot is travel if at all possible. So by travel, I mean travel around the weather. So one of the things we do is if we know we're going out, say we're going to Minnesota next, we're going to go ahead and look up the weather in Minnesota. And sometimes if we notice that the weather is hotter in one part of the state, we'll go ahead and divert and travel another. We're not in a big rush, which is why we're doing this full time and why we didn't want to just go for, a vacation here and a vacation there. So for us, it works really well. Just checking the weather and planning, which tip number 1, check the weather ahead of time and then plan accordingly. It's not that difficult. It takes like 5 seconds on your phone. Next thing we do is when we show up somewhere, we change our van position to orient towards the sun. So we typically like to have the nose facing either east or west. Okay? This way, the bigger side of the van isn't getting direct sunlight. One reason for that is that all our electronics are actually on the side of the van, and we notice that we have had some issues with overheating because of that, because when you're getting full 95-degree day sun hitting the side of the van, it gets a little hot. Now we need the sun for the solar panels, but it's going to get the sun regardless. So that's the second tip, is face the nose of the van east or west. That's a tip we picked up in the Badlands out in South Dakota. It was extremely hot and we were not parked that way, so we quickly switched that up, which something we didn't know before we started van life, but now you know, so when you start, it's an easy tip. Tip number 3, use ventilation. We have 2 max air fans, and these fans are fantastic. You can have them pumping either in or out, and they have like 10 speed variations. So we just try to exhaust all the heat during the day, and then we have the door open. So we're pulling cool air from the shade, and then it's pumping the hot air out, or however. And then at night, if we want cool air in there, but we don't want too much, we'll have one pumping out, and then we can just change the dial for how far open and closed that the cover goes, and then we can kind of limit the airflow that's coming in and out. That's worked really well for us to stay comfortable at night. Middle of the day, I mean, you kind of get what you get with that, but do your best to create ventilation. 4th tip, go jump in water. It's a pretty easy one. We try to find campsites near water so we can just go take a dip when it's going to be really hot. We have found several campsites like that, and actually recently purchased a more type of sandal water shoe type thing, so we can go tromping around, which has worked out really well. But that's definitely, you want to cool down, especially these mountain lake water in Montana. The first spot that we had, we just went and sat in the water and it was freezing. Mostly it was like 55 or 60 degrees, so it's cold water, but that cools your core temperature down, and then that would help for hours. Tip number 5, drink lots of water. Obviously hydrate. Okay? You see us drinking beer and all that stuff because we love craft breweries, but the primary thing we do drink is water, because your body needs to sweat, it needs to function, and you can very easily overheat without drinking it. So if you've ever been an athlete or anything like that, you understand the importance of water. Same thing goes in a van. Okay, water will help keep you cool. Tip number 6. Tip number 6 is pretty easy. Travel during the hottest part of the day. Hey, it's going to be about 95 degrees when she gets off work, and we are going to go ahead and drive and use the AC to our advantage. Now, since it's summertime, that actually works out really easy for us because it's going to stay light out really late, so we don't really have to worry about pulling into places in the dark, because by the time the sun's going down, it's already cooled off pretty well. So that's tip number 6, drive during the hottest part of the day. Then the 7th and the final tip that we have is you're just going to suffer. The reality is you live in a van, okay? Now you can do all the insulation you want, but insulation works both ways. Once it gets hot in the van, it will hold the heat. And if it's cold in the van, it will hold the cold. It's just like a cooler. That's all you're really doing. It's a giant box. So if that's something that you're not willing to do, is to suffer a little bit, then van life might not be the best choice for you unless you go hook up to a campground and you have AC, which is actually the tip number 8, is go find a campground. Okay? We haven't paid for a single campsite yet, because if we started paying for that, we'd run out of money quickly. Just like a lot of van lifers, we're not made of money. So we're not going to go pay for a campsite because we are camping full time. But if it's that hot and you're that miserable and it's going to be, say, 100 degrees for a few days, maybe just go, and then you can hook up to power and then you can have your own air conditioning. That's if you have an air conditioning unit, but that'd be the final tip, is to pay money to go do that. If you have any tips on how you would stay cool that we didn't cover in the video, go ahead and leave a comment below, and don't forget to share this with a friend so they can stay cool too. Alright, see y'all in the next one.